What's good, my beautiful, glorious Dreamfasters? It is Danny Gallows, of course, who'd you think it was, and welcome back, returning to the authentic Dreamfast with me. That's right, guys, we're going back to our roots today. I got my podling hat on, right? Real easy to create. Just take a colorful beanie, cut a hole in it, pull a tuft. Only a tuft will work. A tuft of hair through. And you got yourself a beautiful new podling hat. Little dirty, little smelly, but hey, an organic, authentic podling hat nonetheless. So yeah, guys, I know it's been a long time since I've done any dark crystal material on this channel, and too long. It's been too long. So I thought that since I'm doing movie reviews anyway, it would be fun to go back and revisit Age of Resistance, because it's been a long time since I've seen Age of Resistance all the way through. I think probably a year or so since I've watched Age of Resistance all the way through. And I thought, it would be really cool in a movie review format to go back and revisit the show and do an episode-by-episode review. What has changed? How do we feel now? What new notions and ideas do we have? Right? Do we still feel the same about this show? Is this show enough, or do we need more? Right? And how do we feel about it now? Being in this weird state of limbo where there's no Dark Crystal material and all we have is this show. How much more beautiful is it now? How much more magical is it now? So many questions, so many new thoughts and ideas, right? So it would make a really, really interesting series to do an episode-by-episode review, which is something that I didn't do. I only initially did a review for the entire show, but I never did an episode-by-episode review telling you guys all of my thoughts and opinions and feelings about each episode, which would be a really cool idea. So today, we're going to start with episode 1, obviously. So my earliest memory hearing about this show, I think, was on social media, probably. I think maybe on Twitter or something, like the Henson Company was doing some advertising for it. And when I saw it initially, I didn't really think too much of it. Honestly, I was like, oh, cool, they're doing a Dark Crystal TV show. That'll be really cool, I'll definitely check that out when it comes out, but that was it. I wasn't in, like, Dark Crystal fanboy mode at the time, right? And, so I thought it was a cool idea and everything. But, man, I remember putting on that first episode. There it was on Netflix, and I was like, oh, great, there it is, I'll watch it. I got nothing to do today, whatever, put on the first episode. And, man, that opening, Sigourney Weaver, perfection as the narrator, and she gives us this beautiful history of Thra, and we have these great graphics playing out describing all the clans and the lands in Thra and all the dynamics and politics going on. And it is so beautiful. I literally, I was sitting there last night watching that opening, tearing up, watching that opening with, the amazing soundtrack playing in the background and this epic new world of Thra we were being introduced to. I literally was getting misty-eyed, watching it. I was like, my God, this show is so beautiful. And at that point, I literally remember, being in a state of shock, because I was like, wow, practical effects, real puppets, amazing music, amazing voice acting, amazing directing, amazing cinematography, magic, I was like, wow, do my eyes deceive me? A Netflix original, other than Stranger Things, that's actually done right, that actually has love and passion put into it? No way. So I reserved judgment. I was like, well, wait a minute, let me just watch a couple more episodes, because I just wasn't sure about it. I just didn't believe it, because the show, even halfway through, a quarter of the way through the first episode, you have this thought running through your head, this is too good. This is way too good. Something's got to be wrong with the show. It's going to nosedive eventually. Something's going to go wrong with it, because this show was too good to be true, right? But man, was it not. I mean, seriously, within the first 10 minutes of the show, you are thrust into this world of Thra, and you are immediately captivated by all of these characters. They're all so special and all so unique, and you become kind of entangled in all of their emotions and their interactions and their dialogue, and all these different characters are playing off each other, and every single character and creature and personality has such great chemistry with each other. Even if you're not familiar with the world of Dark Crystal, you can see how great everything is. You can see how human these characters are, even though they're puppets. It's just a hand on, inside a puppet. But it's amazing how human they made all these characters feel. And that truly is one of the greatest aspects of this show still to this day, is how human those master puppeteers, and I don't say that lightly, master puppeteers, made these Gelfling puppets appear to be so human. I mean, their emotions and their feelings, the facial expressions, the body motions, right? Everything is done so perfectly that it almost makes you believe or feel, and I've said this before in the past, but it was like we weren't watching puppets. It was like we were watching actual beings that are from another planet, and somebody took a camera to Thra and they were just filming these Gelfling, like Gelfling are real beings, and we were just filming their interactions going on, because they made them appear so human, or so Gelfling, whatever way you want to look at it. They made them appear so real and authentic that you forget you're watching puppets. And kind of like, it's the reverse effect of taking you out of the universe. Usually puppets are done so mediocre that you know you're watching puppets. But when you're watching Age of Resistance, it's like a reverse of that. Like, you forget that you're watching puppets. You forget that you're not watching real characters. You're watching completely fake characters. There's no human cast involved in this show at all. These aren't humans in suits. These aren't special effects. These are puppets. Puppets. Man, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what makes this show so great. Like, that's what's so fascinating. That's what makes your mind bend about the show a little bit, is you're like, how did they do that? How do they make these things appear so real and so human so that you feel like you could reach out and touch them and interact with them and actually have relationships with them because they are so real? I mean, it's just, that's the magic of the show right there, and that's what makes it truly so great. One of my favorite scenes from the show, which perfectly conveys everything that I'm talking about, is when Brea is picked up by the Skeksis' carriage to go to the tithing ceremony, and she's personally, kind of accompanied by Skek the Scroll Keeper and Skeklak, the nose blower, the disgusting nose blower. Right, man, those scenes still gross me out. Those scenes still gross me out, man. I hated those scenes so much. I mean, seriously, it never gets old. It never gets old, but in a good way, I guess, because that's the amazing character. But the reason I love this scene so much is because this is the first scene in the movie where we really get to see the Skeksis on a personal level. I mean, besides the beginning of the show when they're all arguing about the crystal. But what I mean is, we get to really see their personalities for the first time. We get to understand that there are completely different, unique, and special personalities. Just like, at the beginning of the show where we're introduced to all these unique characters, all these unique Gelfling, now we also learn that the Skeksis are individual and unique characters, and that's not something that's really touched on too much in the original film. It's not really expanded upon. In the original film, the Skeksis are kind of just like these weird, old, evil lizards that rule over the crystal, and they kind of have different personalities, but it's not explored. We don't really see that. In this show, they focus on giving the Skeksis every single personality imaginable, and they really, really, build upon that and add so much flesh and add so much meat to the storyline. And I love that, because I've always wondered what are the Skeksis like behind closed doors? What are they actually doing in there? Do they actually have different personalities and different traits and different character attributes and stuff like that? And we finally get to see that in the show, and I just love that scene because their interactions are so meaningful. We get to see different levels of the Skeksis, the layers, right? That, Skeklak is evil and she doesn't want to convey any information. She doesn't care that Brea can read and write. She's like a classic Skeksis. And then you have Skek, the Scroll Keeper, who's a man of the word himself, right? So he's interested that Brea can read. He actually cares that she can read and write and that she's a learner and stuff like that. He's fascinated by this, right? So we get to see the different levels, the different layers of the Skeksis, the different kind of thinking patterns, right? The beliefs that they have, the individual beliefs they have. And that to me was infinitely fascinating. It's just one of my favorite aspects of the show. But I would have to say that probably my favorite scene in the entire show is Mira's death. Not only because it's so beautifully haunting and powerful, but because we finally, at long last, get to see the process, how Skektek worked through his scientific discoveries to actually steal essence. We get to see the process of how they were able to steal essence. Again, this was something that wasn't really touched on at all. in the original film. But now we get to see the inner workings, we get to see the dynamics of that, and we get to see how dark it is. We get to see how sinister it is. And it is so frightening when Mira is hooked up to those machines. And I love that scene where she's floating in the air and her body just kind of turns to rainbow light and her eyes are all sunken and ghostly and swollen like the podlings, you know, in the original movie. And then she just bursts into nothing, and it was such a powerful scene. It's very, very, it's just so, like, you know, gripping and visceral, and it kind of stuns you because you watch that scene and you're like, wow, that was pretty dark, you know, like that was a really, really dark scene. Like, this is a kid's show, right? You know, like, but that's what I love about it is the darkness. It is the Dark Crystal after all. And you know, Rianne's reactions to that scene. Wow, there's a great YouTube channel name. Rianne Reacts. But yeah, Rianne's reaction to that was absolutely perfect. I mean, you know, what is it about Gelfling crying that it's so sad? It's like a sad clown. You know, seeing Rianne with those tears, you know, streaming down his face as he watches not only his love perish and explode into nothingness before his eyes, but also comes to the sudden realization that these lords of the crystal that he has been serving all these years so dedicated, right, to his craft, and these people that he revered and he respected and he even admired and that he agreed to serve with his life for all this time were nothing but just evil, sinister creatures that are now after his own kind. And it sets the tone and the story for the entire show. And yeah, it's just you know, I love that scene. It's probably my favorite in the show. Another one of my favorite scenes is definitely the tithing ceremony too. And the reason that the tithing ceremony is so important is not only because, once again, does it display the evil nature of the Skeksis, but it also displays the evil nature of the Gelfling. Because you have the Almadra, the ruler of all the Gelfling, who so blindly serves them in every way possible and will not stand up to them in any situation, even when people are having their personal property stolen from them. Her own kind are being demeaned like that, you know, and she won't even stand up for them. So not only does it display how awful the Skeksis are, but really how awful the Gelfling were at that point too, because they wouldn't do anything about it. They just were blindly serving the Skeksis and they would not stand up to them. So that in itself is also evil, right? So many different dynamics, so many different layers to this show that cause you to ask all these, you know, philosophical questions, and it really gets you to think about new ideas and new notions, and it causes you to ask moral questions, right? There's so many morals and so much light and dark balance in this show. I mean, it really makes you wonder why it was canceled. I mean, seriously, like, I'll never forget the day they canceled the show. They announced the cancellation. I was like, Age of Resistance. Dark Crystal Age of Resistance was canceled. Are you guys sure you got the right show? You got the name correct? You guys mixed the name up or something? Age of Resistance is what you canceled? That show? I mean, it's just so ridiculous. Like, you know, like, just use an example like the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, you know, already in talks for a second season. Possible Reva spinoff. Right? Age of Resistance sits stagnant for a year with absolutely no care or attention, wins an Emmy in the meantime, and they cancel it. You know what I'm saying? Of all the ridiculous crap that keeps getting approved for second seasons and third seasons and fourth seasons, what the hell happened to Age of Resistance? I mean, it's just ridiculous insanity. You know, it makes you wonder if the people at Netflix even watch the show. You guys even watch it? You guys even experience it? Did you guys even realize what you had? Did you realize you had the next Harry Potter on your hands and you just flushed it down the toilet? All you had to do was build it up. All you had to do was advertise and invest more money into it and build it up into the franchise that it could have been. And it could have been the next big franchise. I've said this endlessly before. This was your next Lord of the Rings. This was your next Harry Potter, right? This was your next big franchise. You could have milked this thing for 30 more years if you had done it right. But they just, boom, canceled it in a heartbeat, just flushed it right down the toilet. I mean, there's always a possibility that it could come back, but the cancellation of the show has always been the most ridiculous part to me, because there is just no aspect of it that makes sense. Aside from like numbers, I guess they said it didn't perform well. But right, it didn't perform well because you guys didn't advertise it. Like, that's the problem, is you guys didn't realize what you had. I don't think you actually watched or maybe truly experienced the show. You didn't realize what you had. So therefore you had no notion to build it up into the franchise that it was. Right? So that's why it failed. You guys set yourself up for failure. You know, to use an analogy, it's like, you know, you cook the best pizza in the world, but you forgot to invite people to dinner. Right? It's like it's sitting there, and now it's getting cold, and now it's stale, and now it's moldy, and now it's out the window, and now it's gone. But you guys made the mistake by not inviting people to come watch it, by not realizing what it was. And that's the most frustrating part about all of this. So for this particular episode, I think what has changed for me personally after not watching it for a year is that, you know, I forgot how incredible it was. I forgot how magical and powerful this show truly is. You know, it introduces you to this world and these characters with such intensity, with such ferocity, that, you know, it doesn't just captivate you, it demands your attention. It demands your respect. It knows how great it is, and it presents itself as such, and you must throw yourself into this universe and become a part of it because of how great the show truly is. And that is something that is incredibly hard to do, and that is what makes this show, even just the first episode, an absolute masterpiece. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. You know, Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance is one of the best high fantasy stories ever told. It's right up there with Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and all those other big fantasy properties. I don't care that we only have one season and it's just a Netflix original. It is one of the greatest fantasy stories ever, right up there with the greats. And hopefully we can get to see an expansion of this show and this universe and these characters, even if it's just through new books and comics or just a continuation of something. But I'd really like to see them expand upon this universe, because I really don't think Netflix realizes what they have on their hands, because it's not, you know, it's still there. Season 1 is still there. It still belongs to Netflix. They still have it. They could always bring it back. They could always do something with it. It's just that they have to realize what they have. They have to sink money into the show. They have to invest in it, because this could be something big. It already is something big. It already is one of the greatest. But now we just need other people to realize this. So it's our job to stay passionate and stay strong and keep this stuff alive. But that's enough rambling from me for right now. Now comes the best part, where I turn it over to all of you. And I'm really excited to hear from all of you guys, because, you know, it's going to be fun, you know, doing an episode by episode review, so that way I can read through all your comments and see all your different opinions about each episode instead of just the show as a whole. So, yeah, guys, go ahead and leave all of your thoughts and opinions down below in the Great White Void. And, yeah, I'll see you guys back here next Friday, where we were doing, of course, episode 2. You know, I mean, obviously. But as always, until next week, guys, take care. For Thra, for Jim, stay strong, stay passionate, and I'll see you guys back here for the next video very soon. Oh, by the way, did you guys know that I am a Dark Crystal author? Yes, I am. I publish all my books over on Wattpad for free, but I've been working on a series, in case you guys didn't know, called Siphon Charms, which is a Dark Crystal pirate adventure, and I won't say any more than that because I don't want to ruin all the great surprises for you. But yeah, guys, I think that I might be the only independent author. I mean, aside from your various fan fictions out there, I might be the only independent Dark Crystal author right now that's actually creating real Dark Crystal material. I mean, it's authentic material. It's a book that's set a couple years before the events of JMN's book, so a couple years before the events of the show, and it's a Thra and Onika adventure, a great pirate adventure, great Siphon-themed adventure, and you know, I seem to be the only one who's putting out any new material right now. So if you guys are interested, please head over to Wattpad/DCL Galloway, and you guys will find me there. And you guys can start reading Siphon Charms. Like I said, I'm a real independent author. I don't write, crappy fan fiction. I'm a real independent Star Wars and Dark Crystal author, and I think you guys will really, really enjoy Thief and Charms because it's a great continuation of the universe. And the best part is that, there's not really any end in sight right now. It's kind of like One Piece. It just keeps going and going and going and going. So there's plenty to read. There's plenty to experience. It is an amazing, fantastic adventure. I am so proud of it. I'm just about done with the next chapter right now. I should be releasing that probably on Saturday. So I hope you guys will all come over and enjoy Thief and Charms because it's a great way to keep the Dark Crystal universe alive, and also a great way to let the Henson Company know that I'm out here because I totally turned the series into, an animated series. Maybe you could do an animated series. Maybe we could do a graphic novel. Maybe it could be a movie. I can do that for you. I am Dream Fast with me. I love you with all of my heart. See you guys back here for the next video very soon. Later.